Hey, Off-White Coat listeners, it is my privilege to get to tell you about this sweet deal from our friends over at Picmonic. If you haven't heard about Picmonic, it is a fantastic picture-based mnemonic platform that can certainly help out any student. Most of the videos are around 2 minutes long and provide a quick and effective way to memorize material for any upcoming medical exam. It is extremely efficient. They have this search bar function where you can search playlists on general topics like renal to step 1 to step 2, or even first aid and other books. If you want to review the Picmonic for later, you can even make a playlist of your own. Picmonic even has this repetition algorithm that is spaced out according to your learning needs. This helps with increasing long-term retention and allows you to review the right information at the right time. One of my favorite functions is the quizzes that are associated with each Picmonic. I'll take the quiz first and then learn about the associated pictures and what facts I need to sharpen up on. Honestly, Picmonic is a fantastic tool, and if you use our code OFFWHITECOAT, you'll get 20% off. That's Off-White Coat with no spaces. So what are you waiting for? Make studying the easiest part of your day. Sign up with Picmonic and use Off-White Coat to save yourself some money. Hello everyone, this is the Off-White Coat Podcast and I'm your host Jordan Abney. I'm joined here today with Bess Skinner. She's the co-producer. And yeah, we're just today's a little special, a little step special. I've been grinding for the past month, essentially. I plan to take step in a week. So this is kind of just a little check-in. It has been certainly a grind, ladies and gentlemen. It is not for the weak-hearted. A lot of questions, a lot of everything, really. A lot of review, cramming videos.
A lot of sleepless nights.
A lot of sleepless nights.
Comforting.
Yeah. Slightly tears.
Yeah. All on Jordan's end.
Yeah. But yeah, it has been a little roller coaster. It's weird, just pummeling questions every day. It really wears on your mind because your body's not tired, but your mind is. And it's not good for at least the way I like to do it is the opposite. I'd rather be worn out. I'd rather wear myself out both ways. And if I don't get it out in one way or another, it is I just feel weird. It just seems.
Yeah, I've been begging you to go get.
Yeah.
To get it out both ways.
The thing is, I like to, there's something, and I guess I understand some people, if I like it one way, other people would like it another way, but I really like leaving, going and doing my stuff, coming home, getting that whole leaving, even when I had to work just across the street, at the hospital, I used to work at a hospital that was just across the street, and just going there, the walk across the street, getting everything, that was way better than, I have a study hall in my apartment, so I just go up there, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's not the same. It's certainly not the same. You definitely need to go somewhere else, because there's just you can relax too much. I got Rye over here. She's not a good study companion. She's always slacking. Luckily, we're on the final stretch, so won't have to worry. Yeah.
I'm going crazy just as much as you are.
Yeah. Well, if you're going crazy, imagine all the stuff. I go to bed thinking about what I should remember that I did today. It's terrible.
And what you need to do the next day.
Oh yeah, it's weird. But if you've gone through it, congratulations. It's a hell of a grind though. Definitely not for the weak-willed, but it's definitely doable. You have to be willing to put a lot into it. I believe. Some people, I'm sure, don't have to. I credit you. I wish I was you. But one story I wanted to get to is there was an interesting thing that happened to me. It was actually the other day, but this doctor, and I just think it's funny, sometimes when people send you texts to the wrong number, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, have you ever gotten a text from somebody that is just saying something random and it's just not meaning to be you? I'm just, yeah.
Yes, of course.
Well, this guy, he messaged me 2 to 3 weeks ago.
This is a doctor?
This is a doctor that I had given my number to for one scenario. It was I had texted him. I think I had somebody give me his number and I had to text him about one thing. So he texted me and then I texted him about whatever. And then he texted me the other day and was just hey Ben, how's it, or can you make sure to do something? It was and I was okay, I'm not Ben, first off. So I was maybe I'll just let this one kind of just go, right? I was oh, well, I didn't know. Yeah, I
I was like, maybe he'll understand that he's texting like the wrong person, or he'll whatever. Yeah. Then he texted me again though, like recently. Yeah, the same guy. And then he was like, "Hey Ben, I really need you to like get this account, like the account information or something like that, and send it to me as quick as you can." And I was like, I'm sitting there with the text like, "I'm not Ben." I was like, it seems like he needs this, and like this is important, and he continually keeps texting me, thinking that I'm this guy, and I was like, do I really text him? I was like, it was weird. Like, I was like, do I text him and say, like, this is not Ben?
At that
like,
point, I feel like you should.
That's what I did, but I was just like, this is not Ben. Sorry. This is, like, explained who I was. And he was like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. But it was, like, funny because I was like, this, like, most of the time, I guess you just are like, oh, I mean, I have an A last name, so people butt dial me or butt call me all the time. But this guy was, like, completely had the wrong name, and he kept asking things. And I was like, I think he messaged me 2 times in that period, and I was ignoring all of them, because I think he called me Ben more than once. I will not be expecting a letter of recommendation from him. I guess another funny thing, I guess, that happened is, it's happened multiple times, but it happened even today. And I've been, like, learning about all these, like, step 1, you learn about, like, all the physiology and like all the intricacies of like some of the diseases, but you don't learn how to treat them. And then like step 2 and step 3 and all that, it's more of like they give you the scenario and then you're going to need to know what to do in that scenario. And so I was looking back through my like step 1 notes, which were way more like I put way more into it because I was having to go through all these things. And step 2 is more questions anyway, but I had written like almost everything out, like try to get everything. And I look back through the notes, like I'm like, oh, okay. Like it was like lead poisoning. And I was like, oh, let me go see. I know I had written about it. And I go back and then like under treatment, which is like the only question they're asking now. And I was like, oh, let me see what I had written. And the treatment was just like, it made like no sense. It was like, I had written something that made 0 sense. And there's multiple times where I've like looked back in my old notes, and I just didn't have like the full picture yet, but I was writing like what they wanted me to know, and I'm like, okay, this is useless. It was like, I'm like, I don't even know why I wrote that down, but yeah, it was just like I've looked back so many times and just been like, oh my God, Jordan, these are kind of useless, and when I just move on. I don't know. I guess that's not as funny. It was funny to me because it's harder to. I guess your dad had been there. Fun fact, though, I told you the other day about all the kids in New York City having to get like monitored. Something I learned in my pediatric rotation is like that you monitor children in New York City for lead levels, especially like in the younger ages and going up because of the piping system. And
just New York.
It was like when I was working in New York. I don't think they do it in Jersey.
Yeah. Well,
but it was like definitely in New York City. And it might not be even the whole state, but it was definitely in the city. You had to make sure you stayed on that. Yeah. So it was something cool because I was like, do you measure this in every child? He's like, oh no, but it's just like here we do because and I think it was a big deal in the past, and now with like filtered water, it's not as a big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it can be bad. It's sad when like kids get like just drinking water, and then you're just drinking water, and then you get some kind of infection or something. Especially like kids because you can't help it. Like when I was in Zaruma, Ecuador, we went to Ecuador to like test the mercury levels in the air, water, and soil. And because they do this like thing called artisanal gold mining, which is like an old school gold mining technique where they just dump mercury on the gold and rock, and the mercury binds to the gold exclusively, and then you can just melt the mercury away. It's actually like and then it will just be pure gold. Right. It's a little bit more detailed than that, but that's the simplistic form of it. And the problem is the mercury goes up into the atmosphere. Well, it can go into, and then it can come down in the rain, or it can get stuck on buildings. And it like travels through the umbilical cord. So like children can be born with like mental retardation and stuff like that. Definitely abnormalities. But yeah, you can just tell. And the tough thing is like seeing the gold mining families too. But like there was a lot of children that would come into the hospital and they would be super sick. And like from the mercury that they're just drinking out of, like, I guess they were drinking out of like a local stream, and you're just like, ugh,
that's probably
poor
like
kids.
Their closest water source.
That is, it's way worse than New York City. Like, if they think that it was bad, like the lead is bad here, the mercury in Zaruma was way worse. But that one, I was just like, because it sucks when because, kids, I don't know, they got a spot in my heart because they're innocent, I guess.
Well, I mean, any person, like, if you're just drinking water, like, out of the tap, you expect it to not be poisoned, you know? Like, so obviously I feel bad for the kids because, like, they're young and whatever, but, like, even adults, like, no one should just drink some water and be like, okay, now I have lead poisoning or mercury poisoning.
The first world filtration systems. Yeah. Don't sleep on those.
Yeah, is this not the first world, like, is America not a first world country?
I mean, we count our blessings, though, because you don't have to deal with a lot of that other stuff, too. I don't know. I mean, when I was there, we made sure to make sure to drink only filtered water or water that had come bottled or something like that. You have to stay away from even,
cooking with water?
Yeah, like a lettuce, like a head of lettuce made, like this was like a new place that was making it. Yeah, they got one of our, the people that I was with, one of my colleagues, they got sick. Super sick. They were like,
lettuce.
Yes, but that wasn't mercury poisoning. That was like some bacterial, some bug that was in the. Yeah, I mean, yes, but that is also in the water as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you want to make sure, especially when you're traveling, to have filtered water because you're not used to that ecosystem. Your body's not used to fighting off those infections and stuff like that. So when you're traveling and you're drinking from these local sources, especially if in a totally different continent and stuff like that, you're not going to be used to it, and it can really make you sick. So you just got to be smart about it.
Did you hear that New York, the governor of New York, has stopped all elective surgeries because the Omicron variant?
Oh, no, I did not hear that.
Yeah.
What?
So if you have any elective surgery scheduled for now, for like the next coming, I don't know how long, but she has stopped all elective surgeries to prepare for the hospitals to
be overrun again?
Yeah, because the Omicron, which they found the first case today in San Francisco, I believe.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I've heard a lot of, talk about that.
Yeah. But when she did this, there wasn't even a case in North America.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or just America. I don't know.
The preemptive power to shut all this stuff down seems like an overreach.
Yeah, but like if they start to fill up, then cancel those surgeries. But these people have scheduled. I don't even know what an example of an elective surgery is. You could probably tell.
Yeah, I mean, if you have let's say you have a lipoma or like a little skin tag or something like that sticking out, and you just need to get it removed. Something that's not super serious.
That makes sense.
Any or an elective surgery that's like a medical one, but. Or maybe, I guess if the hernia is really bad, it could be urgent, but hernias, or even if you wanted to get your a boob job or something like that, that would all fall under that. Yeah. I mean, really, if it's not emergent. So, I mean, any real surgery, unless it's super serious, is going to be pushed off. That's terrible, really, if I'm thinking about it, because, you're really impinging on a lot of people's work for nothing.
Oh, I didn't even think
because you're in the let's say you're going into surgery. That's just about as sterile as they want. I mean, I understand that you're trying to keep people safe, but all you're saying is that they can't go to the hospital and get and be in a sterile field. Are they concerned that the person has it? Because they're definitely testing.
They are saving the rooms. So they're trying to prevent, if you go in and have a surgery that needs to be overnight or even several hours or whatever.
In case
and someone with COVID or something more serious needs that room, they can give it to them. So I understand. But the preventative measures we're going, it's just it's coming.
Well, what about
it's going to hit. People are going to die from it, just like all the other COVID variants. And we're still it's inevitable. So I didn't even think about that. You made a good point about people. If you're a plastic surgeon, now all of your surgeries are just done.
Yeah, I mean, essentially,
you're not making money. Not you need the money, really, but it's expensive.
Shit, you need. You didn't just do everything to now be out of a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, even these elective surgeries, like what about the elective surgeries that they don't have to stay in the hospital?
You can't do them.
You can't do anything? Like but you're doing COVID testing.
In the hospital?
Yeah, you do COVID testing before anything in the hospital. You get COVID tested the second you come into the hospital. Everybody does.
Well, that's important.
I just, that's tough because, like, if you were to say, hey, all these people that don't have super emergent problems that are in, like, the main floor and places that the people with COVID would normally be, maybe I could understand trying to, like, I mean, even then you're kicking people out of a hospital, but the surgeons aren't even really working with, I mean, that's tough. That's like, that feels like somebody that's not in healthcare,
well, obviously not.
well, yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're just like, cut all the surgeries, cut all this. And they're like, but the surgeries aren't going to, I feel like they would not have an effect on it one way or another. Because you're still getting tested, especially if it's an elective surgery, you're probably at home and you've signed up for this surgery. So you have been tested beforehand and then you're coming into the hospital just for the surgery and then you're leaving. Yeah, that's really dumb, to be honest, the more I think about it. That's dumb.
Have you heard about the Omicron?
I haven't heard much about the it exclusively, no. Like its difference in the other.
Yeah, all I know is it started in like South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta think, apparently it spreads like wildfire, but you gotta think, like, they don't have good resources, they don't have good healthcare, they don't have good water supplies. Of course it's gonna spread fast.
Yeah.
You know, like, if they were healthy in a first world country, yeah, it would still spread, but probably not as fast. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I can't speak.
But I mean, there is some truth to what you're saying. And I mean, I think that, you know, in a city like New York where everybody's stacked on, there's a lot of chances for it to spread. But if all you're doing is stopping elective surgeries, then you're doing absolutely nothing to stop the spread. Like, it's not going to be spread by the people doing the surgeries. It's going to be the people in the subway or it's going to be other places. Like, it's almost like when they told everybody staying home and then it was like easily more spreadable at home. Yeah. So it's like, you know, I feel like we've been wishy-washy with a lot of the protocol going forward with COVID in general. One of the things, you saw that the federal judge banned the firing of the healthcare workers.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that have already lost their jobs due to this. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, like I worked with these group of ladies in my OB department and they were like, half of them were not trying to get the vaccine and some of them had COVID or blah, 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 but they were just not going to do it. And so they already had been fired. And no matter, I would hope that they would rehire them, but I doubt it because it has happened 2 to 3 weeks, or hell, that was a month ago, I guess.
That was like 2 months ago.
Yeah. Because it was my last week I came back and they had new people because they were prepping for this mandate. And then by this time, and then now that this comes through, it's kind of like, there's just not enough evidence for, and I understand why he kind of stopped it. Like, there's really not a lot of evidence that's like, hey, we have to. I mean, LeBron's infected again. Like, if anything, you know,
again?
Or he's infected. But there's been a lot of
circulation
or the breakthrough infections or whatever. I mean, we have a friend that she's a student and she had her vaccine. And she had her vaccine and she's gotten COVID twice after that. I think it was twice. But she's definitely, yeah. I mean, we had it. That was the interesting thing is, like, even the protocol that they gave me made no sense. Like, I had COVID and me and you had COVID. And then it was like we had just finished the quarantine period. It had been like 2 weeks. We were feeling fine, negative COVID test. And then 2 weeks later, they were like, hey, man, you need to get the vaccine. I was like, well, I just had COVID. And I kind of felt fine during it, which, I mean, I guess it was one of the first strains of it or whatever.
You're healthy too. So.
Yeah, but either way, it was like, I was like, well, and it was like, there was no other way. My school was mandating it, and, you know, the hospital was like, you really need to get it. You can get it for free. And I was giving the vaccine already, so it was like, I guess. Yeah, I was just like, are you sure you want, you want me to get it too? I was like, I just had it. And they were like, no, yeah. It won't bother you. And I'm like, I guess. It was before anything else had come out too, really. It was like, because we got it pretty early.
Last January.
Yeah. And so it was just like, that didn't make much sense when you think about all like the priming the immune system and everything. I was like, well, I guess it's not going to affect me that much. And I mean, it didn't. The vaccine did nothing to me. But yeah, it's just weird. It's like, what do you know, like some of this stuff makes zero sense. And I feel sorry for the people that lose their jobs and everything. Like these healthcare workers are stuck in between like two feuding parents in a divorce. Like they're just taking it on both ends. Like they cannot.
Yeah, last year, oh, we love you healthcare workers. Let's do like parades and fundraisers and do all this stuff and write articles and you get the time. People of the year, you know.
Because you don't have the mask, so we're going to call you that. And then once you have the mask, we're going to crack down on you.
Yeah, and now, I mean, literally, that was a year ago, and now it's like, oh, sorry, you don't want the vaccine. Thanks for doing a great job for us and saving lives last year, but you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Like the OB, like ladies that worked at that office, like some of those people have been working for like 10, 12 years. That was like one of their first jobs, and now they're just like, well, I guess I'm out. Yeah, this whole scenario has really like made people show their true colors, or really just made them kind of go a little insane. Like it's so easy for people to just write other people off, and I guess people have always been doing it throughout time, but like for this one specific reason is ridiculous. Like, because it's like, oh, okay, like you don't really believe what I believe. It is so like, this is why I hate the whole conversation one way or another, because like both sides have very good arguments because it's a complete gray area. Like nobody knows. So it's like, I don't want to do it because of this. Valid point. But you should do it because of this. Valid point. You know, and neither side is willing to relent at all. Like it's either you do what I'm going to do. And it's tough because I see a lot of these like adults that have like very, very, like they've been working in healthcare. I say adults, like I'm not supposed to be one, geez. But I'm saying like these are like well-aged physicians that have been working in their healthcare and have seen a lot of things come through. And whether, I guess they're scared of the virus or like, I really don't know, but they can like write off like the concerns of some of their workers, like the vaccine concerns, just like so quickly. And some people don't, but I've seen some physicians that are just like, what are you talking about? Get the vaccine. And I'm like, well, I mean, with every other scenario, you should hear somebody out. Like, ask them why. Don't just be like, get it. It's almost impossible to force anything, especially without proper evidence. Like, you cannot just tell people, like, especially in a country like America where everybody is used to a certain amount of freedom. Like, I guess if you were in a different country where it's a lot tighter, if they said jump, you say how high. But here, I mean, there's not quality evidence that support one way. I mean, if there's breakthrough infections, then you can't say this is the savior. And when evidence is shined in the light of like, hey, like there's a little bit more breakthrough infections, you have to like be humble about it and like, let's have an actual discussion about it and move on. And like, it can't just be like, oh, okay, well, yes, that happened, but like, you still got to do, it's kind of like pompous to think that everybody's just going to follow your side of a gray area. Like you really have got to come in between. Like I feel like a lot of these people are just angry because they're not heard.
Yes.
Like they've been working in like a lot of these people, if they don't want the vaccine, it's kind of getting looped into one. Like you're just on one side of the fence and I'm on the other. Even though it's like, well, what if they had gotten sick? And one lady had gotten sick. Her husband had just died of COVID. She had gotten sick 2 months ago, and her husband had died. She was not playing around. She's like an older lady. It's just like, she had like very thin patience for the whole conversation. And for the fact that like people were like, no, you should do it. And she's like a 67-year-old black lady. She's like, look, but she's just like she does not have the time or the effort to be dealing with this thing. And I agree. Like, and for you to be like, oh, you should fire her. You're like, well, I mean, this person has had a lot of stuff go on and she just doesn't want to even hear a dumb argument, right? Like when someone's telling you to do something, you're like, look, we're done here. I've already had enough loss in this game.
Right.
yeah, that sucks because you're not listening to the other side. So
It's so true.
yeah, I think a lot of people are ashamed because they're not heard. When you think of like other things that you have to treat and stuff like that, you don't give. I guess I had used the example, but I'll use it again. But if you have like tetanus and it's a kid, you need to give the kid the tetanus shot, really no matter what, because it's a life-threatening situation, and a kid is a warden of the state, and so it's like, okay, protect the kid. But for an adult, if he doesn't want it, you can't give it to him. You don't have to save. So like that's a vaccine, and I mean, I guess you could say that you can give the vaccine COVID to somebody else, so that's why you're trying to force the vaccine on. But even still, evidently, you can still get the breakthrough infection. So, but yeah, like, why are you mandating for us to give the COVID vaccine to when you wouldn't do it for any other condition that is super life-threatening? And that would be even more life-threatening is a scenario where you're not vaccinated for tetanus and you stepped on a rusty nail. I would think that things are going to get a lot worse for you than if you were like a 30-year-old than if you had like COVID. Yeah, I think that's just, it's wild. And I don't think it's really good for like both sides of, like, there's not enough evidence. It's really bad. You can't really make a decision, right? And so nobody's going to be happy. And the real thing is this can only be flushed out with more information on what you're doing. You can't just be like, ambiguous about it and be like, you have to do what I say. And like, nobody's really going to find out the real, like, people are going to start to flush this stuff out. And the more you have been like hiding a certain truth or flipping it, like people are going to find out, especially nowadays with the internet and everything. And so it's going to breed more distrust. I mean, it's weird. Yeah. Cause America, you're not really used to forcing things on people. And so there's going to be initially a pushback anyway. But the problem is when people lose their livelihoods, right? You can't just be dependent on government checks or whatever. It's not a healthy way to live. Yeah, I mean, besides that, though, I don't really have much. If you are a healthcare worker that has somehow been affected by this whole vaccine mandate, and let's say you were in the scenario just like I just described where you'd been fired and then they do this whole thing where they block the firing, hit us up on Instagram at Off-White-Coat Podcast or send us an email at offwhitecotpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear your story and maybe we'll do anything we can to help. It really sucks. And it's an unfortunate business because you're just caught in the middle of people not being very candid with you. So, yes, please hit us up. We'd be glad to help in any way we can. Don't be expecting financial repercussions. You're not going to get anything from me. I'm broke as a joke. But anything else we can do to help, I promise. About to get back to studying, so thank you everyone for listening. It's been a great one. I enjoyed it.
Hey everyone, I want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at TrueLearn. They have this top-of-the-line test bank that is perfect for any upcoming board exams that you may have. They have test banks for all types of exams. So whether you're studying for medical school, nursing school, OT, pharmacy, and others like speech pathology, TrueLearn is the way to go. If you're like me and going through medical school, they have question banks for all the big exams, like Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3, with quality assessments for each exam. Look, I know we didn't go into healthcare because we love taking tests. This is the hard part of the job. Make it easy on yourself with TrueLearn. Sign up now with the code OFFWHITECOAT to get $25 off your purchase. That's OFF White Coat, no spaces, to get $25 off your purchase. This is a test bank that you do not want to pass up on. Make this easy on yourself. Take the deal, pass your boards, and get back to enjoying the reason you went into healthcare. And make sure to use Off-White Coat when you pick it up.